Okay, I'm trying to find a new setup for you, and I don't know if the lighting here is particularly good. I feel like it's a bit dark. Ah! Right, now we're going back. Ah! I need the chair to put you on. Good old bedroom. I feel like I can see better. Okay, so today is a video I've been meaning to do for a really long time, ever since I started doing minimalism videos. It's something that I've seen other people make videos about, and I just think it's a really interesting concept to share. Basically, all the things that I stopped buying since I've embarked on my whole minimalism journey. And I would say that my minimalism journey hasn't been an overnight thing. It's been something that's kind of come about over the last few years of my life, and something I've started to think about more and more and more, and only maybe since moving into this flat have I started to incorporate it in all of the facets of my life, as you've seen in my minimalism series. So yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into the first thing that I stopped buying. So the first thing I want to talk about is probably the biggest thing that I stopped buying, and the biggest part probably of my minimalism journey, and that is fast fashion and clothes I don't need in general. I think that was the biggest thing for me to come to terms with, because I used to be the most materialistic person imaginable. I used to love fashion. I still love fashion, but I used to be such a consumer when it comes to fashion, and I was obsessed with looking a certain way. I was obsessed with dressing a certain way. Ever since like the age of 15, I would say, I've just been obsessed. And I would be constantly trying to achieve a certain look by reading magazines like Vogue and Elle and Marie Claire. And I wanted to be, you know, these models and these actresses. I wanted to look like them and emulate their style. And I would do that by going to places like Topshop, like Zara, H&M, and just spending all of my money there. And it got to a point at university when I was working 2 jobs, and all of the money that I had from those 2 jobs was going into buying clothes, just so I could keep up with the people around me, because there were lots of wealthy people around me at uni, and I just wanted to be, you know, on their level and have as much money as they did, and sort of exude that in the way I dressed. And I reached a point where I realised this is getting out of control, and people would make jokes about it. Like, if you've seen the film Confessions of a Shopaholic, my sister used to joke that that was me, because that was what I used to be like. I used to sort of borrow money from here to buy, you know, clothes over here, and I had an obscene amount of high heels. I would buy new dresses for every single event there was. It was inconceivable for me to think that I would buy, or I would wear a dress a second time to a different event. I had to buy a new dress. And yeah, when I left university, I was forced into not shopping anymore, because I didn't have enough money to shop. I had to move out of home and live on my own. Well, I had to move out of home and move into my own flat, where I had to pay rent and bills and be self-sustaining, and I couldn't afford the shopping habits that I previously could afford. So I just stopped shopping altogether. And then I started to realise how much of a positive impact it had on my life, how I wasn't obsessing over fashion. I wasn't like looking at these bloggers and these fashion magazines thinking I wanted to be them anymore. I was kind of just really enjoying the clothes that I had in my wardrobe. And then this year, when I sort of embarked on the whole minimalism thing, I just said to myself, I'm not buying clothes until I reach a point when I maybe reduce my wardrobe and need a certain item of clothing again, or there's something that fits me better or whatever. But I don't need to buy clothes unless it's a necessity. It's not something that I'm not following trends anymore. I'm not following fashions. I'm not keeping up with it anymore, because it's just unnecessary. And one thing that I have done from a young age, which I'm very proud of myself, is charity shop. And I'm going to do a whole separate video on charity shopping. For example, this top is from a charity shop. I've always bought stuff secondhand, because it's just so much better. Because you need to watch the documentary The True Cost. It's all about what happens in the factories of fast fashion companies like Zara, Topshop, H&M, all of these places. You really need to look into where you're buying your things from. I've talked about this enough, I don't want to go on and on and on, but this is the biggest thing to me, and there's lots of very unethical things going on behind closed doors when it comes to the fashion industry. It's one of the most wasteful industries in the world when it comes to plastic, and just a complete turnover every single season of new stuff churning out and out and out. And when you think of it like that, and the fact that you're a part of that, it really puts things into perspective for you. So that was the first thing that I completely stopped buying. The next thing is home decor. When I moved out of home, I moved into 2 different flats at different points with my sister and my friend, and then I moved in with just my sister. And I at some points felt this need to want to buy like home decor stuff, so picture frames and little trinkets and little things you put around the house. And you know, when you go into shops, you're like, oh, I want that for my house. And I had to really resist that temptation, especially when I moved into the current flat I'm living in now. I moved in with my boyfriend, and I had that same desire to want to buy all these little things and knickknacks to go around my house. And I started to do it. I started to buy lots of plants, which I think plants are a great thing to have in your home. But I started to get a bit carried away, and I think I bought one thing and I was like, why did I buy that? I don't need that. And I, at that moment, just reeled it in and thought, no, I'm not going to buy any trinkets for my house because I have all the furniture that I need. I have lots of beautiful plants. I have picture frames already. I have all the decorations that I need. I don't need to buy all of these other things that I see all over the place, because my house is beautiful as it is, and I actually prefer the look of a decluttered home. When you buy a lot of these things, you find that they're really pretty when you buy them, and then they just clutter your house up. And I just wanted to minimize and do the exact opposite and get rid of stuff rather than buying more stuff. So at the minute, I really like the way my flat is. I actually want to minimize even more and just reduce the amount of stuff that's everywhere. It just feels cluttered when there's lots of stuff. The next big thing I stopped buying was extra toiletries. So I used to be, again, same with clothes, I used to buy perfumes, makeups, you know, things like shaving foam, mouthwash, all these extra stuff, extra toiletries that you really don't need. And this is a more recent thing that I've gotten into, sort of more homemade hair products, more homemade skincare and natural skincare and natural toiletries. And I've started to do no poo, if you haven't watched my videos on that. And also just reducing the amount of makeup I wear. Once I've finished all the makeup that I own, I don't want to repurchase lots of extravagant makeup. I want to buy makeup that's more natural. I don't want to be, I have a load of lipsticks that I'm working my way through, but I just don't want to be buying all these things. I used to spend so much money on nail varnish and lipstick, you don't even know, just constantly. I was obsessed with beauty YouTubers. That's how I got into YouTube, was watching beauty gurus, and they would just kind of ignite this flame in me to want to buy all the stuff that they were talking about. And it's the same with fashion. I just wanted to be them. I wanted to have this big makeup collection, and I wanted to have all these amazing things for your skin and for your hair. And I realized that I was always trying to reach that goal, and I never could quite get there. And I was like, I'm never gonna have all these things that they have because I can't afford to. And I don't know, it was this kind of, again, this desire to want to be perfect and this desire to want all these things when I really didn't need them. So more recently, I've limited my skincare to just literally coconut oil and water, and I have, I think, one moisturizer from Lush, and my hair care, I am using Castile soap and things like rye flour and apple cider vinegar. And once my laundry detergents run out, I'm gonna make my own laundry detergent and also my own cleaning products. I just have a backlog of stuff that I'm getting through because, as I said, this is a more recent thing. I don't buy shaving foam, I don't buy mouthwash, I don't buy, you know, all these toners and all this nonsense for your skin, because you just don't need it. Honestly, you just don't need it. My skin's never been better. Same with my hair, like the less you do to it, I think the better it is. Another really, really important thing, I think this is probably one of the biggest things that sparked my minimalism journey and started to make me think about minimalism. In fact, it is the reason that I started to think about minimalism, and that is animal products. I stopped buying animal products 2.5, nearly 3 years ago when I went vegan. One of the biggest parts of veganism is environmentalism and the impact that animal products and the animal agriculture industry is having on the planet. And that's a huge facet of minimalism, is reducing the impact that you're having on the world. So reducing your carbon footprint, just reducing in every way possible, shape and form. That is actually a thing that I've seen a lot, is a lot of vegans are minimalists, a lot of minimalists are vegan for this reason. If you are completely unaware about this and you're just kind of looking into minimalism, and you know nothing about veganism or why people choose veganism, especially when they're minimalist, it's because of the crazy impact that animal agriculture has on the planet. It accounts for up to 50% of greenhouse gas emissions and is the leading cause of species extinction, ocean dead zones, habitat destruction. You know, the rainforests are being completely destroyed, and it's not because there are loads of vegans eating soy, it's because the animal agriculture has got the industry has got to such a large scale that it has become extremely destructive. And when you go vegan or vegetarian even, you reduce your carbon footprint by such a dramatic amount. I'm going to put a little picture here which explains how much you reduce your carbon footprint just by changing the way that you eat. It takes 2,500 gallons of water to produce a pound of beef. Like, can you just imagine? I know that there's a statistic somewhere about how long you'd have to leave a shower on just to produce the amount of water that is needed to make a burger. Maybe I'll insert that here. But yeah, once I found out about this, that was a huge reason of why I went vegan, along with ethical reasons and health reasons, but that was a massive part of it. And as I went on my vegan journey, I realised that lots of other people had made this connection too and started to live a more minimalist lifestyle, or vice versa. So that's something I definitely recommend you look into. Cowspiracy is an amazing documentary that covers all of this, and it's just a really huge part of minimalism for me personally. So those are the biggest things that I stopped buying. I just want to make some honourable mentions here, just as a few little other things that I've stopped buying are plastic bags for the supermarket. I've always done this, but I've completely stopped buying plastic bags ever. I always have my own bag I take with me. I know it's now the law in the UK that you have to pay for bags, which is amazing. But yeah, I always take my own bag when I go shopping. Stopped buying things like fabric softener for my clothes. I stopped buying tampons, and this is another video I want to do because I switched over to the Moon Cup. I stopped buying excessive amounts of food, so lots of junk food. I used to go on big shops where I just spend loads of money on loads of junk food when I was hungover, and I've completely stopped doing that now. 90 to 95% of my diet is whole plant foods. So yeah, those are just a few things that I stopped buying. Let me know in the comments what you've stopped buying if you are a minimalist, and if you're on your journey towards minimalism or find it interesting, let me know down below what things you want to reduce in your life, what things you really want to stop buying because you have a problem with it, or you want to, you really want to change your carbon footprint, you really want to live a more conscious lifestyle. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye! Smoothies help you lose weight, for sure, 100%. The more fruit you eat, the better. It's amazing for you. Don't be scared of smoothies. And it just got me thinking, and I want to do a little bit of an experiment.